Whoa, what a weekend of test match rugby. Ireland pipping the world champions, the Springboks, in the last seconds of the game. We'll also be previewing the Under-20s World Championship, the final to come. And of course, I'll be answering your Emirates fans questions. Let's head to Durban then, where Ireland pipped the world champions, the Springboks, with a drop goal in the last seconds of the game. Oh, what a classic game that was. Kieran Frawley's drop goal winning it for Ireland. Now then, at the end there was some drama, wasn't there? Because Colby was on the ground and the South African players were telling the referee that he's been taken out. So the referee, quite understandably so, and a sensible thing to do when it's a match-winning drop goal, you want to make sure that you haven't missed anything. So the referee's gut instinct is everything is fine, drop goal, the game is over. But they go to check, and quite rightly so, the outcome stays the same because there was no clear obstruction from the Irish player. He doesn't step into him or take him out. It's a case of Colby slipping rather than the Irish player taking him out. So, bit of drama at the end, but a 100% correct outcome and decision by the team of officials, which was very well handled at the end of a big pressure and a big pressure moment in the game. Now then, another talking point. Keelan Doris, yellow card, should have been upgraded to a red. It's gone to the bunker because of the croc roll. Now remember, in episode 1 we discussed that the croc roll was now being outlawed and referees were going to really going to be aware of this dangerous action. So the croc roll is when you grab a player around the fringes of the ruck and then you croc roll him to the ground. So what you're doing, you're preventing him trying to compete to get at the ball as a jackler or trying to counter ruck. So by doing that, they grab them and they croc roll them to the ground. Now, that can cause some serious injuries, particularly to the lower limbs. Now, in this instance here, we have 2 players involved in it, but going to the TMO, a good process. They feel that Doris is the one that starts it, and for that reason, then, he is the one that they decide to send to the bunker as a yellow card. James Ryan can count himself fortunate as well, because another day, another official, another team may well have viewed that he played a huge part as well and could well have sent him to the bunker as well. The other question you're asking is, should Keelan Doris be upgraded to a red card? To be honest with you, it's a very tough decision, and I don't think there could have been any arguments if it would have been upgraded to a red card, because the action is dangerous. That's the reason that it's been outlawed. So Doris on this occasion can count himself very lucky, because it could well have been a red card as well. England, New Zealand. Oh, these have been 2 exciting games here, very close. The last test, and obviously this one as well. Down in the dying minutes, that maul by England. Were they going to get over and score? And then if the conversion was successful, then it would be a draw game. But it didn't happen because there was a penalty for obstruction. And was the penalty correct? Well, let's have a look at it. So, very similar to what we discussed last week in the first test between Australia and Wales. Very similar. So the ball carrier, Jimmy George in this instance, he goes away from the maul. They break away, which is fine, perfectly legal. As he breaks away, when you do that, if you're breaking and you're leaving, so you're setting up basically another maul or going to go into the defenders, you've got to make sure that the ball carrier is at the front. So there is no obstruction. On this occasion, he has some English players around him, which is protecting him, and therefore we have the obstruction. And for that reason then, we cannot allow play to continue. We cannot award the try. So in this instance, again, good refereeing, good teamwork by them at the end of the game, big decision and getting it right, and quite rightly so, penalising for obstruction. So there we go. The All Blacks extend their unbeaten run at Eden Park to 30 years. Unbelievable, isn't it? Right, let's head over to Australia. Wales, Australia. Now then, let's look at Salakaya Loto's yellow card. Could this have been a red card? Gone to the bunker, so it is, reaches the yellow card threshold. So, they look at it. So, do we have head contact? Yes, we do. So then we reach that threshold, we go to the bunker. But then we have to look at any mitigation circumstances. So, was his actions always illegal? So, does it mean, was he just leading with the head, leading with the shoulders? So, he was always illegal? If so, then we would be looking at anything else. But in this instance, because there's a considerable dip in height by the Welsh player, which has contributed to this, we then look at it and we feel that there is mitigation, and therefore it remains at a yellow card and not at a red card, because Griffin considerably drops in height. So a yellow card outcome correct here. Another close call in Melbourne with the Aussie number 8, Rob Valentini, tackle on Wales's James Botham. Now then, there seem to be head contact here, so they look at it. We have a Welsh player with a bloody nose, so has there been contact? Has been contact to the head, shoulder to head? So the angles that they saw, you can't clearly see that there was head contact. So maybe a little bit of luck here, because if they could see there was clear head contact, then obviously we'd be looking at a different outcome. But because they can't clearly see this, they opt to go with the play on, which is an understandable decision based on the angles that is available to them and what they are looking at. And that's it for Whistle Watch. Some very interesting points there and some good discussion as well. Now, my favourite part of Whistle Watch, which is your Emirates Fan Questions. And once again, thank you very much for taking the time sending them in. And let's start with Atiomac. Nigel, you should be a TMO. No. No way. I couldn't think of anything worse. I loved being on the field. I was hopeless as an assistant referee. Well, I tried my best, but and you have to do it as part of the team. It's part of your role as a referee. You become an assistant referee. And when I was assistant referee, I supported the referee 100%. But I always wanted to be the referee in the middle, like everybody does, I suppose. So no, the TMO is not for me. Very, very difficult job, mine. Much more difficult than people think. I really enjoy your rugby insight, but I'm equally absorbed by the beauty and cleanliness and organisation of your farm. Do you have helpers? What is the history behind it? Is it primarily a dairy farm? What difficulties do you face? How about a spin-off series? What about what's happening on the farm each week? Well, I'll tell you what's happening on the farm each week and every day is a lot of work. It's not a dairy farm, it's a new farm basically. When I retired from refereeing in 2019, I didn't want to wake up in the morning thinking, what am I going to do now after being refereeing for 35 years and nothing to do. I always wanted to be a farmer, so I saved up, we bought a little small holding, we put some new sheds up and did a lot of work and bought some cattle, and we bought Hereford cattle, pedigree Hereford cattle, which are beef cattle, but they're mostly sold for breeding or for showing. It's a lot of work, but it's enjoyable as well. Refereeing was a lot of work, a lot of pressure, but believe me, farming is much more. You'll have to come and visit the farm sometime. Brent Williams, do you name your farm animals, and if so, which one is your favourite? Ooh, there's a few favourites here really. Yes, they're all named. All the bulls are named, and all the cows are named, and the calves that are born as well. Now, if you get a heifer calf, which is a female calf, it'll be named after the mother usually. That's the way you keep the bloodlines going and the name of the bloodline. So, for example, I have a cow here named Hannah, Keepsake, Juliet, Mair, Sarah. If they have any heifer calves, female calves, they'll be named after their mother. So they will be Sarah the First, Sarah the Second, Sarah the Third, and so on like that. But the Hereford Society has a letter every year. So this year, from July till July, any bull calf name will be starting with the letter C. So if you have any recommendations for a bull starting with the letter C, let me know. And that's it. Your Emirates Fans Questions all done, and thanks very much for sending them in. Now, the Southern Hemisphere tours are not the only rugby that's been taking place for the last few weeks. We've had the Under-20 World Championship as well, and in the final is England and France, which I'm sure will be a great final, free on Rugby Pass TV. Let's have a look at some of the players who may be playing a huge part in the outcome of this final. Let's start with England then. Henry Pollock. Oof, what a back row player he is. A lot of you have been talking about him. He certainly hasn't taken a step backwards in any of the games, hasn't he? And he is really one to watch, not just for this final, but for the future as well. And he's been an ever-present figure in the English back row throughout the tournament, and has the speed, has the skill at the breakdown, and obviously as well has a great tackling ability as well, particularly then when he wants to go and regather and juggling that ball. So keep an eye on him, and keep an eye on him for the future as well. Sean Kerr, England, at 21 points in the semi-finals. Is a good boot on him. Saw England over the line in the semi-final against Ireland. 4 penalties and 2 conversions, adding to his try as well. He carried 9 times and 2 line breaks as well. So he's certainly going to be one to keep an eye on. They won't be able to give him much space on the weekend, or he'll certainly find those gaps. Let's have a look at some of the French players. Mathys Castro, now then, a hat-trick in the semi-final as France saw off the Baby Blacks. And the defending champion scored 7 tries in that semi-final. Now, 6'4", and the number 8 is a dominant figure on the field, and he will play a crucial part on Friday, there is no doubt. There should be some battle between him and Henry Pollock in that back row on the weekend, that's for sure. Mathys Furt. A lot of these great French players are Mathys, aren't they? Mathys Furt, he led all the players in the amount of line breaks in the semi-final with 4. The French fullback, Euzy Flair, against New Zealand, getting a try for his efforts as well. Another player which is going to be difficult to contain, so the English will have to keep an eye on him on the weekend. So there are some of the players that you can look out for, and I'm sure who will have exciting futures ahead of them as well. I'm looking forward to watching that game myself. So remember, you can watch it free on Rugby Pass TV. Well, that's it for this week, and that brings the test series to an end, but we will be back next week with more international test matches as well to glance an eye over. And don't forget as well, that exciting Under-20s Championship final to come on the weekend, all for free on Rugby Pass TV. I'll be back next week. See you then.